After decades of fame, Steve Harvey stumbles upon a woman from his past, living on the streets. Could this be the love he lost? As he confronts painful memories, what he uncovers will redefine everything he thought he knew about love and loss. It was a chilly autumn afternoon in Atlanta, where the vibrant colors of the leaves contrasted sharply with the dull gray of the pavement. Steve, dressed in a tailored suit and exuding a confidence that only fame could afford, was on his way back from a charity event when he felt a sudden pull to a familiar street corner. As he approached, he saw her, the silhouette of a woman curled up on a worn-out blanket, her features half hidden beneath a ragged scarf. It was Lisa, his high school sweetheart, the girl he had adored but lost touch with over the years. Memories flooded back, the laughter they shared, the dreams they spun together, and the bitter pang of regret that lingered after their paths diverged. People rushed by, indifferent to her plight. But for Steve, time stood still. At first, he hesitated, his mind racing with questions. How could this be the same vibrant woman who once lit up his world? He shook his head, trying to banish the uncomfortable thoughts. Maybe she wasn't the Lisa he remembered. Maybe this was just a coincidence, a figment of nostalgia. But then she looked up, her eyes meeting his. Recognition blossomed in her gaze, and for a heartbeat, it was as if they were the only two people on earth. "Steve," she murmured, a mix of surprise and pain flickering in her voice. "Lisa, I can't believe it's you," he replied, his heart racing. He knelt beside her, attempting to mask the shock that coursed through him. What happened? How did this happen? If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your comment. And there's something very important. Click the hype button. This helps a lot to deliver this content to more people. It's quick, but it makes all the difference. Lisa looked away, her expression turning somber. Life happened, you know. I lost my job and with it, everything else. I thought I could get back on my feet, but, well, here I am. Her voice quivered with a mixture of regret and acceptance. Steve's heart ached for her, feeling the weight of her struggles. She had been a star in his life, full of hope and promise, and now here she was, fighting to survive on the streets. Determined not to let this moment pass, Steve reached for her hands, cold and roughened by the elements. "You don't have to do this alone, Lisa. Let me help you." As he spoke, a flicker of hope ignited in her eyes, but it was quickly overshadowed by doubt. "Help? Steve, it's not that simple. You're a celebrity. People expect you to be perfect. They don't see the real me." His heart sank at her words. He was used to people swooning over his fame, yet he had never felt so powerless. The distance between them felt insurmountable, shaped by years of choices and misfortunes. "Let's find a way together. You deserve more." Lisa studied his face, searching for sincerity. And in that instant, Steve realized he was not just offering help. He was reconnecting with a part of himself he thought lost forever. What did it mean to truly love someone? Would he fight not just for her, but for the memories they once shared and a future that seemed dim? Yet as they sat on that street corner, enveloped in a world too loud and chaotic, Steve understood that this moment was only the beginning. The battle against time, circumstances, and their own fears would require strength neither had anticipated. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the sidewalk, Steve held Lisa's hands tighter. The bustling streets of Los Angeles continued their relentless rhythm. But for Steve and Lisa, the chaos around them began to fade into the background. He felt the cold grip of her hands, a stark reminder of the tough life she had been enduring. "Come on," he said softly. "Let's find you somewhere safe for the night." Lisa hesitated, her brow furrowed in worry. "You really think I can just leave all this? It's not that easy." The sincerity in her voice struck Steve like a blow. Here she was, battling not just the harshness of the streets but the chains of her own doubts, and he understood that this wasn't just about finding her a roof over her head. It was about confronting a past that neither had fully processed. "Let's at least get some food first. You can tell me everything that's been happening," Steve suggested, his voice warm and inviting. He wanted to bridge the gap that had formed between them over the years, to understand her journey. Lisa's eyes flickered with the hint of a smile, momentarily breaking through the hardship that enveloped her life. As they walked to a nearby diner, the faded neon sign flickering overhead, Steve couldn't help but reminisce about the vibrant, lively young woman he once knew, bursting with dreams. They slipped into a booth in the corner, the vinyl seats worn but comfortable. The waitress, an older woman with kind eyes, approached them. "What can I get you?" she asked. "2 coffees and the biggest plate of pancakes you have," Steve ordered, then turned to Lisa. "Sound good?" "Sure, as long as there's syrup," she replied, a glimmer of her old spark emerging. As they waited for their food, Steve took a moment to study her. Lisa's once radiant smile now had the weight of sorrow and weariness etched around it. "What happened, Lisa? How did you end up here?" he asked gently. She sighed, the air heavy with unspoken words. "After you left for college, life took a turn I didn't expect. I tried to chase my dreams, but things fell apart. I lost my job, my apartment, and little by little, I lost myself." Tears brimmed in her eyes. "I thought I could do it alone, but I was wrong." Steve felt a surge of empathy. Her struggles echoed his own fears of failure. He couldn't shake the feeling of guilt, not only for losing touch, but for not realizing how far she had fallen since their youth. "You're not alone anymore, Lisa. I might not be able to fix everything, but I can help you get back on your feet." She looked away, the doubt creeping back. "What do you know about the streets, Steve? You're a star. People look up to you. They don't see me." "But I see you," he insisted earnestly, leaning forward. "I see the person you were, and I believe in the person you can still be. You deserve another chance." The waitress returned with their pancakes, and as the warm, fluffy stack was placed before them, Steve felt the moment shift. He could see hope in Lisa's eyes, albeit fleeting. "You used to love pancakes." He tried to coax a smile from her. "Yeah, and I always drowned them in syrup," she chuckled, a tinge of nostalgia brightening her features. As they shared the meal, reminiscing about their shared past, laughter began to intertwine with the anxiety, forging a bond anew. But in the back of his mind, Steve recognized the complexities of the situation. Helping Lisa would involve more than just good intentions. Questions loomed. What would it look like to integrate her back into society? How could he prove to her that she was worthy of kindness and support? Once they finished eating, they walked out into the cool evening air, Steve feeling a burgeoning sense of responsibility. He knew he needed to act quickly, but as he glanced back at Lisa, he understood that their journey would be fraught with obstacles, both external and internal. "Let's find you a shelter for tonight. Tomorrow we'll figure out a plan," he said, determination swelling within him. Lisa nodded, her expression a mix of gratitude and uncertainty. "Okay, but you have to promise me something." "Anything," he replied, eager to forge a path forward. "Promise me you won't give up on me, no matter how hard it gets." Steve swallowed hard, resolve hardening in his chest. "I promise." Together they stepped into the night, both aware that their renewed connection was just the beginning, a glimmer of hope amid their complicated realities. After stepping into the cool evening air, Steve and Lisa found themselves at a crossroads. Streets were dimly lit by flickering lampposts, casting shadows that mirrored the uncertainty in both of their hearts. A nearby shelter, the Silver Haven, loomed ahead, its entrance adorned with a worn banner that promised warmth and safety. Yet as they approached, hesitation washed over Lisa. "Steve, I don't know if I can do this," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. He studied her, noting the tremor in her hands. "You're not alone anymore, Lisa. We'll take it one step at a time." But the moment they walked inside, the reality of the shelter hit them. The room was filled with weary faces, people who wore their past like a second skin. The air was thick with the scent of disinfectant and despair. A woman in the corner was knitting quietly, while a man argued animatedly with the staff about his next meal. It was a far cry from the world where Steve thrived, glamorous, bright, with laughter echoing from every corner. Lisa's eyes darted around, anxiety creeping back in. This isn't what I imagined," she said, her voice trembling. "I thought it would be different." Seeing her distress, Steve took a deep breath, fighting back his own insecurities about this decision. "It's just a place to sleep for tonight. Tomorrow we'll figure out a new plan. We can find you a permanent home, maybe even get you back on your feet." But as they approached the sign-in desk, a challenge unfolded. A stern-faced staff member lifted an eyebrow, scrutinizing Lisa with an intensity that made her shrink further into herself. "Do you have any identification?" he barked, crossing his arms. "No, I lost it," Lisa stammered, her voice faltering. The staff member shook his head. "No ID, no entry. Rules are rules." He turned to Steve, who felt an overwhelming wave of frustration. "But she's in a difficult situation. She needs help," Steve argued, stepping forward, trying to project authority. "Help is only for those who follow protocol," the man replied curtly. "Next." Lisa's shoulders slumped as she whispered, "Maybe we should just go." "No," Steve exclaimed, catching her by the arm. "We're not giving up just yet." As he glanced around, he noticed a small group of residents gathered in a corner, trading stories and laughs. A plan sparked in his mind. "Wait here," he instructed, before making his way over to the group. "Hey, everyone," he said, trying to muster a lively tone. "Anyone know if there's any way around the ID rule for a friend of mine?" The residents looked at him with skepticism, assessing his expensive jacket and polished shoes, a stark contrast to their worn-out attire. After a long pause, an older man spoke up. "Listen, we've all been there, but if she don't have anything, there's not much we can do. You might need to contact some outreach." Backed by Lisa, anxiety morphed into despair. "I'm sorry to put you through this. You tried, and I just—" "Stop," Steve interrupted gently, kneeling beside her. "This isn't over. I'll figure something out." But as the night wore on, the weight of the situation pressed down on him. Each moment spent at the shelter filled him with unease as he watched people shuffle through life in survival mode. He had risen to fame through laughter and joy, yet here he was, feeling utterly helpless. "Tomorrow, I'll call some people I know," he assured Lisa, though his voice lacked conviction. "You deserve better than this." As they finally left for the night, the shadows lengthened, enveloping them in a blanket of gloom. Steve fought to keep hope alive. But the challenges ahead loomed larger than any he had faced before. The complexities of helping Lisa were just beginning to unfold, a difficult journey that would test the limits of love, resilience, and faith. Steve sat in his upscale apartment that evening, the city lights twinkling like distant stars. But despite his lavish surroundings, a gnawing tension clung to him. The memories of Lisa's hollow laughter echoed in his mind, piercing through the laughter and applause of his game show audience. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through contacts filled with names of wealthy friends, producers, and fellow entertainers, but none of them felt equipped to handle this crisis. Finally, he landed on a number he hadn't dialed in years, Angela, a former co-worker who ran a local outreach program for the homeless. He hesitated, knowing he'd have to expose his vulnerability, but the image of Lisa's desperate eyes pushed him forward. He pressed the call button, hearing a few rings before Angela picked up, her voice bright but with a thread of concern. "Steve, long time no talk. What can I do for you?" "Angela, it's about someone I met today," he started, struggling for the words. "She's in a really bad place. I want to help her, but I don't know where to start." There was a pause on the other end. "I can connect you with some resources, but you need to be prepared. It's a complex situation. People in her position often have deep-seated struggles, addiction, mental health issues, mistrust." "I get that," he interjected, feeling the urgency rise. "But I can't just walk away. She's someone I used to care about." "Someone from your past?" Angela asked, her tone shifting slightly. "Look, I'll do my best to help you, but you'll need to approach this with care. Meeting her needs comes first. Are you ready for that?" "Absolutely," Steve replied, determination flaring inside him. "What do I need to do?" "Meet me at the shelter tomorrow morning. I'll walk you through the process. And remember, she might not be ready for your help," Angela cautioned. As they hung up, Steve felt a mix of dread and hope swirl within him. He spent the rest of the night pacing, imagining all the ways this could unfold. What if she rejected his help? What if she was too far gone? Curling up on the couch, sleep eluded him as thoughts of Lisa haunted him, entwined with memories of their past. The morning sun cast long shadows as Steve arrived at the shelter, heart pounding with uncertainty. The air smelled of stale coffee and something else, something he couldn't quite place but felt heavy in his chest. He spotted Angela at a table near the entrance, her clipboard in hand, surrounded by files and papers. "Hey, you made it," she greeted, her smile encouraging but serious. "Ready?" Steve nodded, swallowing hard. "Where do we start?" "Let's go find Lisa," Angela instructed, leading him through the maze of makeshift beds and busy volunteers. The once vibrant atmosphere felt charged with silent battles fought by the people around him. Each face told a different story, some filled with hope, others marred by despair. Finally, they reached a dimly lit corner where Lisa sat, wrapped in a worn blanket, her eyes dulled. A flicker of recognition ignited in her gaze as she looked up. "Steve," she whispered, disbelief mingling with the fear etched on her face. "Hey, Lisa," he said softly, moving closer. "I've been looking for you. What do you want?" Her tone was wary, yet there was a faint glimmer of hope in her voice. "You don't belong here." "I want to help," he replied, desperation creeping into his words. "You don't have to stay like this. There are options, people who care." Lisa pulled the blanket tighter around herself, every layer seeming to fortify her defenses. "Why would you? You have everything. What's it to you?" He took a deep breath, grounding himself. "Because I care about you. I remember the good times, and I can't just ignore what's happening. I want to help you find a way out." For a moment, silence enveloped them, thick with unresolved emotions. Lisa met his gaze, searching for sincerity amidst the chaos of her life. As she hesitated, the choice hung weighty in the air: accept help or continue in a cycle that felt inescapable. "Why should I trust you?" she finally asked, her voice trembling with vulnerability. Steve felt the gravity of her question. "Because I'm willing to fight for you, even if it's hard," he answered earnestly. "I won't give up. Together, we can take the first step." A flicker of possibility crossed her features, and he held on to that moment, knowing he stood at a precipice with her. It was a turning point, not just for her, but for him. This was the moment where love and lost dreams could intertwine again, opening paths to healing and hope. As Steve and Lisa stared at each other on that grimy street corner, a palpable tension hung in the air. The evening sun cast a golden hue over the city, but amidst the warmth, the chill of their past loomed heavily. Behind them, the sounds of urban life buzzed, cars honking, people laughing, and the distant wail of sirens. Yet all of that felt miles away as they confronted an emotional landscape littered with years of unspoken words and missed chances. "Why should I trust you?" Lisa's voice quivered, yet it carried the weight of her struggles. The blanket wrapped around her felt more like a shield, fortifying her against the world. Steve's heart raced as he realized that this moment was critical. It could tip either way. "Because I know what you've been through," he replied, stepping closer, the distance between them feeling like an insurmountable chasm. "And I can't stand by while you fight demons alone." His sincerity was raw, stripped of the glitz and glamour that surrounded his life. He looked down at her, seeing not just the woman he once loved, but the pain and resilience etched into her face. Lisa's eyes darted away as if searching for answers in the cracked pavement. "You don't know anything about me now." Her voice was low, almost defeated. "You can't possibly understand what it's like to be on the street, Steve. Everything you have." She trailed off, unable to finish her thought. "I was once in a dark place too," he admitted, surprising even himself. He felt the walls of his carefully constructed life start to crumble as he shared a piece of his past. "I lost my way when I was just starting out, and it felt hopeless. I was scared, alone. But I had people who believed in me." "People like you?" she shot back, a hint of anger flaring up in her voice. "Someone who just walks away when it gets hard?" Her words stung, but Steve wasn't deterred. "No, I'm here now. This is about you, not me. I want to be that person for you." Lisa's defenses began to falter as she searched his face for traces of deceit, but all she found was a man who seemed genuine in his intent. The flicker of hope he had seen before ignited again, but it was fragile, like a candle struggling against a strong wind. "Okay," she whispered, her voice breaking slightly. "What do we do?" The walls she had built began to crack, and Steve felt a rush of relief mixed with fear. They were on the precipice of something profoundly transformative, but he knew the path ahead would be rocky. "First, we get you off the street," he said firmly, determination flooding his words. "There's a shelter a few blocks from here that helps people get back on their feet. I'll take you." Lisa hesitated, her pride battling against the need for help. "I don't want charity, Steve." "It's not charity if you're willing to accept it," he countered, his tone gentle yet resolute. "Just let me help you get back to where you deserve to be. You're stronger than this, Lisa. We both know it." As she stood there, Lisa grappled with her emotions. Trust was not something she had given freely in years, and yet here was Steve, offering a lifeline. Tears threatened to spill as she thought about the possibilities. "What if it doesn't work?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Then we try again," he replied, his eyes unwavering. "One step at a time, together." That was it. The magic word that pulled at her heart, together. It was a notion she had long abandoned, but in that moment, something clicked. Without realizing it, she nodded. "All right," she said finally, her voice stronger now. "Let's do it." As they began to walk, each step felt like a tiny victory. The world around them faded, and even the reality of their circumstances felt suspended. But deep down, both knew the journey ahead would be fraught with challenges. The uncharted waters of their relationship lay ahead, filled with the promise of healing, but also the shadows of their past. Steve knew that helping Lisa would require more than just support. It would demand understanding and compassion, a willingness to embrace the uncomfortable. He wasn't just fighting for her future. He was fighting for their shared past, rebuilding bonds long lost and discovering new connections along the way. But as they moved toward the shelter, a sense of uncertainty loomed like a storm cloud on the horizon. The tension between hope and fear crackled in the air, reminding them that true transformation often requires navigating treacherous emotional territory. This was not just a journey for Lisa, but a chance for both of them to confront their demons and redefine love amidst the rubble of their former lives. As they approached the shelter, the weight of the world seemed to compress around them. The air was thick with the smell of asphalt and the distant sound of sirens, a stark reminder of the reality they were in. Steve felt the tight knot in his chest tighten even further. The journey from the street to this shelter was not merely a physical transition. It was a labyrinth of emotions, memories, and choices waiting to manifest. Inside the shelter, the atmosphere morphed into a blend of hope and apprehension. People buzzed around, their conversations layered with the crackle of pasts that echoed like shadows. Steve glanced at Lisa, noting the uncertainty that flickered in her eyes. Her hands trembled as she adjusted her jacket, a defensive gesture that tugged at his heart. "Are you ready?" he asked softly, giving her a gentle nudge of encouragement. "I don't know," she murmured, biting her lip. "Let's just take a look, okay? We don't have to make any decisions right now." He reached for her hand, his grip firm yet reassuring. Taking a deep breath, she nodded. "Okay, just stay close." He held her hand firmly as they walked through the entrance where a volunteer greeted them with a warm smile. The volunteer's enthusiasm contrasted sharply with Lisa's apprehension. She stood still, surveying the interior with wary eyes. "Welcome! We're glad you're here." The volunteer gestured toward a seating area filled with cushions and warm blankets. "Are you looking for a bed for the night?" Lisa's eyes widened. She hesitated, almost recoiling at the thought. Before she could finish, Steve cut in. "We'd like to see what you have to offer, just for now." The volunteer nodded, understanding the unspoken weight in her words, and led them further inside. The shelter buzzed with life. People shared stories, laughter resonated in corners, and a sense of community floated in the air. Yet for Lisa, this was not home but rather a reminder of her struggles. As they entered the common area, Steve spotted a small group playing cards. The laughter invited a bittersweet smile from him. It reminded him of the times he and Lisa spent together, their laughter mingling easily. He turned to find her standing by the window, each flicker of light outside casting multiple shadows over her thoughtful face. "Look at that," he said, nodding toward the card players. "See? It's not all bad." Lisa's gaze shifted from the window to him, vulnerability etched on her features. "Do you think I can fit in again, Steve? After all this time? After everything?" Her voice broke, revealing layers of pain that had long been buried. He stepped closer, his voice steady. "You were never lost to me, Lisa. This is just a chapter. We all stumble, but it's how we rise that counts." Before she could respond, a commotion erupted at the far end of the room. A man, clearly intoxicated, started yelling at another resident to move. The atmosphere shifted dramatically. Tension hung thick like fog, swallowing the joy from moments before. "Stay behind me," Steve told Lisa instinctively, positioning himself protectively. As the shouting escalated, he felt his heart race. This wasn't just about the shelter and finding stability. It was about the fear that laced the reality of homelessness. As a few staff members intervened to defuse the situation, Lisa's eyes darted back to Steve, filled with anxiety. What if this is where I end up? A constant fight just to survive? He felt the familiar ache in his chest. It doesn't have to be, Lisa. Every moment is a choice. We can choose fear or we can choose courage. She met his gaze, and for a fleeting moment, he saw the spark of hope flicker in her eyes. Courage? Yes. It's making the decision to try even when everything feels uncertain. Together. He emphasized the last word, hoping it would resonate with her. Around them, the noise began to settle, the staff calming the man. The moment of chaos felt surreal, but it was also a testament to the challenges that lay ahead. Taking a deep breath, Lisa nodded, a mix of determination and fear battling within. "All right, let's see where this leads." With that, they took their first collective step towards not just shelter, but the possibility of healing together. The stakes were higher than ever, and as they ventured into this new beginning, both Steve and Lisa knew that the path ahead would require immense courage, but also a return to love, a love not just lost but waiting to be rediscovered amidst the chaos. As they stepped into the dimly lit shelter, the world outside faded to a distant hum. A kaleidoscope of emotions washed over Steve. Fear, hope, determination. He could sense Lisa's uncertainty beside him. Her shoulders were hunched, eyes darting toward the various stations where volunteers were handing out food and clothes. The atmosphere was tense yet charged with possibility. "Let's find a quiet corner," he suggested as they moved deeper into the shelter. He led her to a small area filled with mismatched chairs where they could talk without the din of voices overwhelming them. "Breathe easy here." He motioned to the chairs, encouraging her to sit. Once she settled, he plopped down opposite her, trying to ease the tension that was palpable in the air. "Do you really think we can turn this around?" Lisa's voice trembled slightly, a mix of hope and doubt woven into her question. The vulnerability in her gaze pulled at Steve's heartstrings. "Absolutely," he responded with conviction. "We just need to take it one day at a time. Remember how we always said we would support each other no matter what?" She offered a faint smile, a flicker of that spark he had seen earlier. "I do recall those days. It feels like a lifetime ago." He leaned forward, his tone softening. "You've shown so much strength, Lisa. I've seen it today. When that man was yelling, you were ready to stand your ground. That strength is still in you. It hasn't disappeared." Looking away, she took a deep breath, clearly overwhelmed. "But how do we get back to that life? We're not the same people anymore." "Maybe not, but we can become someone better. We will find jobs, get stable again. We've got people here who want to help us." He gestured around the room, hopeful. "This isn't just a shelter, it's a community. We can lean on each other again, just like before." Lisa nodded slowly, contemplation filling her expression. "I just worry about the obstacles we'll face. It's a long way back up." He reached across the small table, and she hesitated before taking his hand, the warmth of their touch bridging the frightening gap between fear and hope. "Obstacles are always going to be there," he said gently. "Our challenge now is to face them together. We've already survived so much. This is just another hurdle." As they exchanged a glance, something profound shifted within her. The fear that had once clouded her eyes was replaced by an ember of determination. "All right, let's do it. Together." With that, they stood up, a shared sense of purpose igniting between them. They made their way to one of the information desks, where a friendly volunteer awaited them. With every step, the weight of uncertainty drifted behind them. Days turned into weeks, each one a reminder of their shared decision to rebuild. They began attending workshops on job readiness and life skills at the shelter. The lessons, while tough, were filled with laughter and banter, reigniting the camaraderie they once shared. One sunny afternoon, after a particularly grueling workshop, Steve and Lisa shared lunch at a small park nearby. "Can you believe it? I finished that resume. It's like I'm stepping back into my old life," Steve said, a wide grin lighting up his face. "You're a natural," Lisa replied playfully. "You're like a phoenix rising from the ashes." "Phoenix, huh? I'll take it," he laughed. "And you, I see you're thriving at the community kitchen. It suits you." She blushed, a soft smile touching her lips. "I guess you're right. I feel like I'm back in the kitchen with my grandma." As they sat there, laughter echoed against the trees, a stark contrast to their earlier struggles. They had woven a tapestry of support around them, friends they'd made among the volunteers and other residents. Months later, as they found jobs and secured a small apartment together, Steve stood by the window watching the sunset paint the sky in vibrant hues. Lisa approached, wrapping her arms around him from behind. "We made it. I can't believe we made it." "We did," he confirmed, looking out with her, the world seeming a little brighter now. "The journey was tough, but we found our way back." Their fingers interlaced, a simple act carrying the weight of everything they had endured. They had chosen courage, and it had brought them here, to a life filled with hope, love, and the promise of countless tomorrows. In that moment, Steve Harvey not only reunited with his first love, but discovered a new definition of what it means to truly love. It was about choice, resilience, and the unwavering strength of connection. So what did you think of this story? Leave your comments, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, share with your friends, and don't forget to like. But most importantly, click the hype button. Seriously, this is crucial for the channel to grow and bring more amazing stories like this to you. It only takes a second, but it helps a lot. See you next time.